Hi, for this lecture, we're going to be discussing ways to develop an app idea and validating that idea by answering questions like, how do you develop a creative app idea? How do you know if your app is a want or a need? Is there something similar out there? So, the learning outcomes for this lecture is to apply ideation techniques such as brainstorming and mind mapping in order to be able to create mobile app ideas, to identify user problems and unmet needs to guide the development of app concepts. To evaluate app ideas, feasibility, desirability, and viability to determine their potential for success, and then refine app concepts based on your user needs, market research, feedback, to create like a clear and actionable project idea. Now, in addition to this lecture, I also provide various different resources that you should also look at. So, ideation in app development refers to the creative and brainstorming phase where developers and designers and stakeholders will generate, explore, and refine different ideas for a mobile or a web application. Now, ideation is the process of generating ideas. So, it's like sort of the initial step in the development process, and it involves, coming up with concepts, features, and functionality for the app. Now, some key aspects of ideation and app development are one, idea generation. So the ideation process is going to begin with the generation of app ideas, and this might involve like brainstorming sessions where team members or the stakeholders propose like various concepts based on identified needs, problems, and opportunities. It also involves problem identification, where developers and designers they'll analyze market trends, user feedback, and industry gaps in order to be able to like identify like problems or pain points that the app could address. So solving real world problems is a common goal in ideation. Problem analysis is a useful tool that's used, by most businesses to identify these real world problems in business processes and, products. Now, trend analysis is another tool that we would use in problem identification, and this helps us to consider the impact of innovative thinking in the direction of the industry. It's a method that helps to identify and understand patterns and shifts in various different data points over time. Then there's also user centered design. And so this is where ideation will emphasize a user centered approach, which focuses on understanding your target audience's needs, their behaviors, and their preferences. And this helps us to create ideas that basically are relevant and valuable to our users. And then there's feature prioritization. So during ideation, teams will prioritize features and functionalities based on their importance, their feasibility, and their alignment with the app's goals. And this helps in defining like the core functionality of the app. Now, ideation also involves creating basic prototypes or wireframes in order to be able to visualize how the app's interface and the interactions might work. And these prototypes, they serve as a starting point for further development. And then it's always going to be essential to research the competitive landscape and the existing apps in order to be able to understand like what similar solutions are available and how the new app can differentiate itself. Now, ideation is often an iterative process with multiple rounds of brainstorming and refinement. Ideas are constantly reviewed, refined, and tested in order to ensure that they meet the user's needs and the business objectives. Refining an app is going to be a critical step before moving forward with development. You need to basically ensure that you have like a clear understanding of what the problem is that the app is going to solve and what value it's going to bring to the user. And then it's common to seek feedback from potential users or focus groups during the ideation phase to validate like your ideas and gather insights for improvement. Now, while ideation primarily focuses on conceptual aspects of the app, it's also important to consider technical feasibility. Teams may assess whether the proposed features can be technically implemented within budget and time constraints. And then beyond technical feasibility, ideation should consider the app's business viability, including like potential revenue models, marketing strategy, and the return on investment. Basically, is it worth it, business wise to develop this app? And then, of course, last is documentation. Ideas generated during the ideation phase are often documented in like concept papers, using user stories or design documents in order to provide like a clear vision, for the development team. Now, research shows that beginning an ideation session with an individual brainstorming followed by group discussion will lead to more better ideas. So, again, you want to start with that individual brainstorming. Then you want to transition to sharing each individual's idea. And then, last, combine ideas and further flesh them out into reality. So, Nikola Tesla was an inventor, engineer, and futurist known for his groundbreaking work in electricity and technology and for his approach for innovation and problem solving. Now, there are three questions that represent his approach to innovation: how, why, simpler, better, more productive. Now, these three questions form the cornerstone of critical thinking and hold all the potential for generating ideas. Tesla would often ask how, to dive deeper into maybe understanding the workings of a system or a concept before attempting to improve on it or innovate upon it. Basically, like, how is it done now? Okay. He would ask why, to question like conventional wisdom and challenge existing ideas. By asking this question, we can identify like any kind of flaws or inefficiencies or opportunities for improvement in our app. So basically, like, why is it done this way? And then Tesla advocated for simplicity in design and function. He believed that, the best inventions and solutions were often the simplest ones. So he would ask the question: simpler, better, more productive? So for us, this allows us to streamline and optimize apps to achieve maximum performance with minimal complexity, whereas we strive for simplicity, efficiency, and productivity in the design and the solutions. Basically, we're asking, is there a simpler way to do this? So let's walk through how we would use these three questions for an app idea. So if we like to eat at restaurants, and I've always wondered like how much to leave for a tip. So if I decided to create like maybe an app for that. So I would ask, how do we normally or usually calculate how much tip we leave? That's my how. And then why? Why do we do it like that? And then is there a simpler, better, more productive way? Another example is if maybe I was creating an app for like task management. So I would say, how, can the app maybe utilize AI to personalize task management? Why do users need more efficient way to track like daily tasks? You know, then strive for simplicity, make users more productive in their daily lives. Now, it's more important that an app solves a problem as opposed to just being unique. Okay, while uniqueness can certainly be valuable, it's a valuable trait for an app. It's generally more important that an app solve a real problem or at least meet a specific need for a user. Now, there are several reasons why problem solving is often prioritized over uniqueness. One is user relevance. Apps that address real problems or fulfill genuine needs are more likely to resonate with the users, um, because users are more likely to, say, adopt and continue using an app that provides practical value in their lives. Problem solving apps tend to align with existing market demands. So there's often a built in audience of users actively seeking solutions to their problems, which makes it easier to attract and retain users. And then we look at it from sustainability. Apps that solve problems are more likely to have like long-term sustainability. They can become like an integral part of the user's routine and then continue to be relevant over time, whereas unique but impractical apps, might fade. And then even in a crowded app marketplace, apps that effectively solve problems, can gain like a competitive advantage. They're more likely to stand out and capture a share of the market, compared to apps that focus solely on being unique without addressing like any real need. And then apps that generally solve problems tend to foster user loyalty. So when users find like an app that's, consistently meeting their needs, they're more likely to stick with it, maybe even recommend it to others and become like brand advocates. And then apps that solve problems may have, more opportunities, say, for monetization. Users are often, willing to pay for apps or services that provide like substantial value by addressing their pain points or offering some kind of convenience. And then problem solving apps, often have a clearer path for improvement and innovation. Developers can gather user feedback and data to continually, refine and enhance the app's functionality, which ensures it remains effective, in solving the problem that it was originally designed for. And then an app that solves a problem can potentially find applications in various contexts and industries. And this versatility, can open up new markets and growth opportunities for the app. Now, like I said, while uniqueness can make an app stand out initially, it's essential that the uniqueness is tied to a practical purpose or problem solving capability. An app that is unique but say doesn't address a real need may struggle to find an audience or maintain like long relevance. Therefore, striking a balance between like uniqueness and problem solving is often the ideal approach, to create a successful and sustainable app. Now, the goal of an app can vary depending on the purpose and the audience. And although, some apps benefit from being called what we call like use centric, to enhance user engagement and satisfaction, some apps prioritize efficiency, simplicity, and community interaction. But the goal of an app, is not always to be use centric. Now, when we talk about use centric refers to an approach where a product or a service is designed and tailored to prioritize the individual user's preferences, needs, and experience. Now, in a use centric design, the user is at the center of the experience, and the product or the service is customized or personalized to provide the best possible interaction for that user. Now, examples of use-centric applications include like personalized news feeds or social media, recommendation engines on streaming platforms, tailored product recommendations on e-commerce websites, and customizable user interfaces on like mobile devices or software applications. Now, these applications aim to provide a more engaging and satisfying user experience by catering to the individual's preferences and their needs. However, some apps are designed to be task centric rather than use centric. And these apps are often utilitarian in nature and are primarily focused on helping users accomplish specific tasks efficiently. So, for example, like a weather app, provides like weather forecasts without requiring like extensive personalization. The goal of basically a task centric app is to deliver information or functionality quickly and without like any kind of unnecessary complexity. Now, certain apps revolve around building communities or connecting users with shared interests. And these community centric apps may prioritize like group dynamics over individualization. Now, online forums, discussion boards, and multi-player games, these are examples of like a community centered or community centric app. Now, while these apps can still kind of offer some personalization options, their focus is on facilitating group interactions. And then apps that primarily deliver content, such as news aggregators or streaming services, you know, they may not be use centric in the sense of personalization, but instead focus on providing like high quality and relevant content to a broad audience. And these content centric apps, they aim to engage users through like appealing content rather than personalized experiences. And then you have what's called utility apps. And these are like your calculator, your flashlight apps, or like your QR code readers. These are typically not use centric. They serve specific functions and prioritize like simplicity and the ease of use over personalization. So when you're coming up with your app idea, you want to kind of be thorough, you want to be specific. So, I have an idea for an app that will make it easier and fun, et cetera, for people too, and then that's how you start it. And then you think about what you want it to do. So here's some examples. I want to make it easier for people to get takeout food from local restaurants. This is what gave us DoorDash. This is what gave us Uber Eats, and Grubhub. You know, Another example is I want to make it more fun to motivate people to check items off their to-do list. Like we see a lot of these kind of apps already, these to-do apps, but that would be, that's the idea, you want to start with to think about it. I want to make video chatting with friends, really delightful, enjoyable. That's what gave us like Snapchat, things like that. So you want to be kind of thorough thinking about your idea to come up with what it is that you actually want to create. Now, a lot of app developers go from idea straight to implementation. You know, they think their solution to a problem is the bee's knees, and in all the excitement, they forget to validate it first. Now, what's validation? So, validation means you verify that there's actual users willing to use your app. Don't mistake validation for asking for feedback and getting a positive response. When you ask someone, what they think about your idea, many users will tell you that they think it's a great idea. um, that's not because the idea is in fact good, but maybe just because it's our social norm, to applaud and praise entrepreneurship or innovative and creativity. Also in a problem solution situation, many people will simply tell you that your solution is good because they can logically see that it solves a problem. Solving problems alone, though, isn't going to make your app successful. You need active users that are willing to use the app. So, validating a mobile app idea using a prototype is going to be a crucial step in the app development process. It allows you to test your concept, gather user feedback, and make informed decisions before investing significant time and resources into the development. You can start with building like a low fidelity prototype. So you start by creating like this low fidelity prototype that is like maybe it's a simple like hand drawn or digitally created representation of your app's interface, and it should focus on like the core functionality. You can use tools like Sketch or Figma or even like pen and paper to do this. Then you want to invite potential users to test your low fidelity prototype, and observe how they interact with the prototype and gather information or feedback on the app's ability, its usability, its layout, and its overall concept. You want to ask like open-ended questions, to understand their thoughts and their pain points. And then you use the feedback from the usability testing to make necessary improvements to your prototype. So what you want to do is you're going to iterate through several design versions until you see really a positive response from your users. Now, classifying the category of an app is going to be a crucial step in the app development process, as it kind of helps you understand the target audience, your market competition, and user expectations. So, how do you classify the category of an app? So one, We begin by conducting like thorough market research. We look at like existing apps that are similar to your idea or in the same domain. We analyze their features, their user base, and success in the App Store. And then we identify any kind of gaps or areas where maybe your app could provide a unique value or proposition. Next, we clearly define the core purpose of your app. Again, what problem does it solve or what need does it fulfill? Your app's primary function will heavily influence its category. Then we need to think about our target audience for our app. What are their needs and their preferences? And we consider how our app can address these needs effectively. Now, app stores categorize apps into various different categories and subcategories. So you need to kind of explore these categories to see like where your app fits best. And then you need to determine whether your app belongs to a broader category or maybe a niche subcategory. For example, like a fitness app, can belong to the broader health and fitness category or a specific like subcategory, like maybe like running apps. Narrowing it down to a subcategory can kind of help your app stand out among like, a more target audience. And then you want to analyze your competitors, within whatever that chosen category is. You kind of want to understand their strengths and their weaknesses and identify opportunities to differentiate your app, or offer like unique features that, maybe your competitors lack. Then you want to follow up with conducting some surveys or gather user input or feedback to validate your category choice. Ask potential users, whether they would expect to find your app like yours in like the selected category. Now, different platforms like iOS and Android, they may have slightly different categorization structures. So you want to ensure that your choice aligns with the guidelines of the platform that you plan to target. Now, based on your research and analysis, um, finalize the category of your app. Be specific, as possible to accurately represent your app's main purpose. But keep in mind that app categories may evolve over time, so you need to be prepared to adapt if you see changes in the user expectations or the market trends. And then last, you want to document your rationale behind your category choice. And this documentation will be useful when pitching, say, your app idea to investors or stakeholders or during maybe the App Store submission process. So, how do we turn our idea into an app? So, turning your idea into an app is a multifaceted process that involves like several key steps. One is to do your market research. Before diving into like app development, you want to conduct thorough market research to understand the current landscape. Identify potential competitors and assess the market demand for your idea. Market research is going to help you to determine if your app idea is viable and whether there's a genuine need or demand for it. And then you need to know your audience. So you want to define your target audience or user personas. Understand their demographics, preferences, pain points, and behaviors. Knowing your audience is going to help you to tailor your app to meet the specific needs and preferences, which increase the chances of success. Then you want to develop a marketing strategy that outlines how you'll promote your app to reach your target audience. Effective marketing is crucial for like generating interest, acquiring users, and building awareness about your app. You want to write down all your ideas. Document all your app ideas and your concepts. This can include sketches, feature lists, user flows, and workflow diagrams. Writing down your ideas is going to help you clarify your vision, be able to share it with others, and ensure you don't forget critical details during development. It can also be helpful to define the workflow to find problems or challenges. Then you want to develop the app based on your idea and document concepts. So this is the core phase of where your app actually takes place. You'll be bringing your idea to life. Now, if you have multiple ideas, You want to choose one that aligns best with your market research, your target audience, and resources. Focusing on one idea allows you to allocate your time, your energy, and your resources a little bit more effectively. Now, if your app idea requires external funding or partnerships, prepare a pitch to present to potential investors or marketers. Securing financial support and collaboration opportunities is going to be what will move your app forward. And then develop a strong brand identity for your app, including like the name, the logo, the color scheme, and overall design. Branding creates like a memorable and cohesive, image for your app, making it a little bit more appealing to users and helping it to stand out in the market. It's important to mention that these steps often overlap and are strictly not linear. For example, you may continue to refine your app idea and marketing strategy as you gather more information, during development and user testing. Flexibility and adaptability are going to be crucial as you navigate the complex process of turning your idea into a successful app. Now, the concept of a significant improvement in a system where a small change can lead to an output increase of more than 1,000%. Okay, so let's consider an app that has been developed and is available for download on various like different app stores. Now, over a period, it has been gaining traction and is averaging, say, 1,000 downloads per day. Now imagine a small change is made to the app's user interface, or app store listing that significantly enhances its visual appeal and makes it more appealing to users. As a result of this change, the app's download increases dramatically. Okay, instead of 1,000 downloads per day, it starts receiving 15,000 downloads per day. Now, the improvement is calculated as new downloads minus initial downloads divided by initial downloads times 100%. Now, in this case, a small change results in a significant improvement over 1,000%. The key factors that relate to this concept to app development are one, user experience. Small changes that enhance the user experience, such as improving the app's design, making it more user friendly or addressing like common user pain points, can have a profound impact, on user adoption and retention. Also, tweaking elements in the App Store listing, including like the app's title, the description, maybe screenshots or keywords, can significantly improve its discoverability and download rates. And then introducing viral features within the app, like maybe some kind of social media sharing or referral program, can also lead to like user growth when users invite like others to join. And then optimizing the app's performance, reducing load times and fixing bugs can result in better user reviews and higher ranking, leading to increased downloads. Now, once you get your idea, there's different ways that you would be able to communicate your idea or your idea concepts, say to stakeholders or investors or whoever. One of the ways is the X for Y concept. And it's a simple and often like catchy way to describe a business or product by drawing comparison to something familiar. Now, it's a marketing, like I said, or communication strategy that's used to quickly convey the essence or the purpose of the new or innovative idea by kind of likening it to like a well-known concept or product. And this approach helps people to understand the value or function of something new by, say, relating it to something that they already know. Okay, like here's how the X and Y concept typically works. So X, this represents like the new or the innovative concept, or product or service or idea, that you want to explain or promote. It's something novel, possibly unfamiliar to your target audience. The Y, this represents the familiar and well-known reference point that you use to explain X. So Y is typically something that shares similarities with X in terms of purpose, function, or some other key aspect. Now, by using this format, you're essentially saying that your X is like Y in some way, making it easier for people to kind of grasp the concept quickly. Now, here's a few examples of that. So, Uber for food delivery. Okay. This comparison suggests that a new food delivery service operates similar to a popular ride sharing service, Uber. Now, people constantly or instantly can understand, that they can order food to be delivered to their location with the convenience and ease associated with the Uber rides when you use that kind of comparison. Okay, next comparison would be Netflix for books. Okay, so this analogy implies that a digital platform offers a vast library of books for reading, just as Netflix offers a vast library of movies and TV shows for streaming. Okay, Airbnb um, for camping. Okay. This suggests that the service allows people to rent or share their camping spaces or equipment with others, much like the Airbnb allows individuals to rent out their home or rooms for travelers. So the X for Y concept, this can be a powerful marketing tool because again, it simplifies these complex ideas and makes them more relatable and understandable to the broader audience. Now, it is important to ensure that whatever the comparison that you make is accurate and meaningful, because as you don't want to mislead or overly simplify comparisons, because that can possibly confuse, potential users or even disappoint potential users. But it's a way of being able to explain maybe your idea, especially if your idea is kind of innovative. Now, there's no general formula that's going to help you decide if you should move forward with the app idea or maybe discard it. However, a list of questions that might be useful is, is your app idea very similar to something that's already exists but slightly different? Do you lack a clear understanding of how your app might actually deliver value to users? Are you lacking adequate information or research that might help you make decisions? Are you looking to build something that sounds good but hasn't been tried out yet? Is building your app something that you're really passionate about? Now, if the answer to all of these questions is yes, then you should probably spend a little bit more time testing and thinking about your app idea. Now, when we think about innovation, when it comes to as far as our app ideas and things like that, innovation isn't solely the result of, say, smooth user experience. That's the one thing I want you to keep in mind. Innovation occurs at the overlapping of desirability, feasibility, and viability. Um, so these are three kind of critical parts of our approach to innovation and coming up with like innovative ideas, and together these three criteria, they create the ideal condition for innovation. However, kind of designing, building, and launching, say, your app um, becomes riskier if, say, the product doesn't, say, check one or more of these boxes. So to make sure that your product or your app is desirable, feasible, and viable, you need to perform like research and review your app ideas early in the design process in order to determine if the idea is going to meet one of these criteria. So just briefly, when we talk about desirability, apps that meet the criteria of desirability are wanted and needed by customers or users. So, after a while, if you haven't come up with again a product or an app that somebody's willing to buy or to download, then of course you're not going to make money from it. So in order to ensure desirability of your app, it has to solve a problem for someone in a way that's intuitive and pleasing. We talk about feasibility. This means that the app can be built. either by, the company that came up with the idea, by you, or maybe by a third party that has like the technological know-how. In order for an app to be feasible, you or the company or whoever's going to be building it has to be confident that the technology needed to build it can be developed. And then last, we have to look at the viability. And this means that the app makes smart business sense. If the app is something, say, users want, but maybe it's too expensive, for instance, or too complicated, then it's not viable. Testing for viability asks, does our business model fit with the way our customers want to use it and pay, for our solution? So we've spent a lot of time talking about like app ideas and things like that. So I just wanted to review as far as how we really kind of come up with these app ideas through like brainstorming. You know, brainstorming is a creative and collaborative process that kind of helps us generate, the ideas for our app. And in order to use brainstorming technique effectively for app development, there's some steps that you should follow. One is to formulate a clear objective. Again, begin by defining a clear objective or a problem statement. We've talked about that. It has to solve a problem. What is the purpose of your app? What problem does it solve, or what need does it fulfill? Having this well defined objective is going to guide your brainstorming session. Okay. Next is you want to choose a structured approach. You want to select a brainstorming technique or a method that best suits the nature of the problem. So, a few examples are mind mapping. That's where you kind of start with a centralized idea, your app's objective, and then you just kind of branch out with like related concepts and features. Scamper, this is where you explore ideas by asking questions related to substitution, um, combination, adaptation, modification, put to another use, elimination, reverse. I'll provide some resources for that. And then there's just having brainstorming sessions. These are open discussions where, participants are freely kind of share their idea, without criticism. There's brain writing, and this is where participants will write down their ideas on paper and then pass them around for like maybe further inspiration. And then there's using a SWOT analysis, and this is to analyze like the app's like strength, potential weaknesses, opportunities, and the threats. And this will help us generate ideas. You know, then once you kind of conduct as far as that, then you want to discuss the pros and the cons of each of the ideas that you've come up with, their feasibility, and their alignment with like maybe your app's objectives. Then you want to prioritize the ideas, based on, a criteria such as feasibility, potential impact and alignment with your app's goals, and then what you want to do from that is you want to select the most promising idea to move forward with. Once you get that idea, then you'll go ahead and you'll create prototypes or mock-ups of the selected idea and kind of test them with like potential users. Then you'll gather feedback early in the development process, just that will kind of help you refine your app's concept. Now, don't be afraid to iterate and refine your ideas based on like your users' feedback and changing requirements. This brainstorm process, it really will continue throughout the whole development life cycle.